Welcome back to Forward Progress, presented by FanDuel. We are back, and we're taking a look at the NFC North. We're going to be taking a look at some futures, who's going to win the division, and a bunch of other stuff. I'm your host here, Jason Cooper, alongside Judah Forking at Throw the Damn Ball on Twitter. Judah, I love the NFC North. I love talking about the NFC North. It's one of the most fun divisions to talk about in football. Let's start at the very tippy top and take a look at the current odds right now for who's going to win the division. Detroit Lions, plus 155 at the very tippy top of the board. Let's talk about them a little bit, because a little bit earlier in the offseason, I made a bet. I bet the plus 600 for them to finish last in the division. It's safe to say I'm a little bit lower on the Detroit Lions than the current odds that are given. There's a lot of questions around this team. They're obviously very talented. They have a great roster, but they're in a tough division, like we just talked about, and the coordinator group. It's going to be tough to see how well they can transition through new coordinators. This 2025 Detroit Lions kind of reminds me a bit of the Eagles back in 2023. They lost Gannon. They lost Shane Steichen. They had to get some new coordinators in. Those guys didn't seem to fit the bill. Listen, they were still an 11-win team, that Eagles team, but they got smoked in the first round of the playoffs against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and their issues that persisted throughout the season were kind of on display in that playoff game. The difference between these two situations, though, is that the Eagles' division back then was a lot easier than what the Detroit Lions are going to be facing this year. In terms of roster turnover, the real big loss is Kevin Zeitler at guard. They also lost Frank Ragnow at center. Right now, like I mentioned, plus 155 to win the division. What are you looking to do with the Detroit Lions this year? Is it a full fade? Are you going to wait and see? Tell me a little bit about it.
Yeah, I'm lower on market than them. I think you kind of teed it up perfectly, which is like we don't really know what this offense is going to look like without Ben Johnson and really the entire defensive coaching staff. This was like under Aaron Glenn, this team was like extremely man heavy, very aggressive style defense. And they almost played to their personnel as a result of that. And like the defense was really bad up until recently. And last season was off to a great start until virtually the entire defense went down with injury. But I think the real central question here is like, what's Jared Goff going to be like? We've seen Jared Goff with Sean McVay. He's been great. We've seen Jared Goff kind of in this in between pre Ben Johnson, and he was less good. Is it enough that this is still a terrific offensive line? Like, yes, they lost Ragnow and Zeitler, but like this is still among the best, if not the best. And like Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jamison Williams, Sam Laporta, like this is still a great receiving core. Like, can he do enough with that? Yeah, of course. And there could even be some residual effect of like the post Ben Johnson era. But with that said, there's absolutely a possibility here that this team takes a huge step back. And I think you're right to point out the rest of the division also has a very strong case. So I think I would be slightly low on them just relative to market in general, because I think there's a really large effect of losing, especially for a quarterback like Jared Goff, who is so system dependent and really can't create on his own. And also, like, yeah, the rest of the division is great. I don't mind that like left tail outcome that you just outlined of them finishing last. Like, they still could be a good team. Maybe like a couple of injuries also break, in your direction, I guess. And like this could be a 7-8 win team, and that might even be last place in this division.
Yeah, exactly. That's part of the reason why I talked about that. Is because like we could really see an 8-win team potentially finish in last place with the amount of talent divvied up throughout this division. It's pretty crazy. I want to touch a little bit before we move on to the next team on some players' futures. If we're talking about Jared Goff right now, he is his over-under on the season is 3,875 passing yards. If you want to look to kind of fade him, that might be a good place to start. Or maybe early on the season, maybe take a couple unders. I'm more curious about how they're going to run this offense. I wonder if they're going to lean a little bit more. I mean, they already lean a ton on their running backs. Like maybe lean a little bit more into Montgomery, lean a little bit more into Jahmyr Gibbs. Like, could you see maybe Montgomery maybe to lead the league in touchdowns, or Jahmyr Gibbs to lead the league in rushing yards, anything along those lines? And then the last thing I want to talk about is, like, we saw Jamison Williams break out last year. Do you think that maybe he can overtake Amon-Ra St. Brown, who's probably going to be listed higher than him early on the season in terms of receiving yards? Do you think maybe that could flip at some point in the season?
Yeah, I think on the first part, the rushing stuff in particular, I don't like at all, precisely for the left tail that I just described, which is like rushing yards in particular are very much game state dependent. And like if the team is really good, they're going to get more rush yards because they're winning in late in games. And I foresee fewer of those circumstances, at least given what is built in and priced from previous seasons. I still find Williams, does not have a diverse enough route tree, I think, to overtake Amon-Ra St. Brown, who really dominates in the intermediate areas of the field. And Williams is still a guy that you mainly want to get the ball in the intermediate to deep area of the field or give him some space from behind the line of scrimmage. But it's not that guy you expect to win in that 0 to 10 yard range. And like on third and 7, 3rd and 8, like the ball is still going to be going to Amon-Ra St. Brown. I don't think Williams is going to sort of carve out that role. So that's not something I'm particularly interested in.
All right, let's move on here to the Chicago Bears. I mean, like, they're currently plus 550 to win the division. They're at the bottom of the list. But I wanted to talk about them second because I'm so eager to talk about them. I love talking about them. Of course, completely new team, completely new offense with Ben Johnson in the fold. I mean, they have a great QB. We'll see if they have a great QB, but the ceiling is high for this offense. Tons of great weapons all around, young, good weapons. Listen, I've yapped a lot about this team. I know you're not the biggest Caleb Williams supporter. What are your thoughts on the Chicago Bears? Are you kind of fading them in market? Do you like them in market, or kind of neutral?
I'm kind of neutral on them. I see this going in multiple directions, and I really think it's a reflection of Caleb Williams, which is like, I think it is undoubtedly true that he's getting a schematic upgrade in Ben Johnson, and I think that's like well priced in. I'm not sure he's the quarterback who is almost ripe to take advantage of that. And what I mean by that is like in scheme requires a certain set of skills. It's getting the ball out on time. It's avoiding mistakes. It's something that Jared Goff has done exceptionally well. And at least in year one, Caleb Williams was awful in all of these categories. I track something called destroy rate, which is effectively a play when the quarterback's pocket is kept clean. There's no disrupting events via pressure or good coverage. And what is considered destruction is taking a sack, running for negative expectancy, or making an inaccurate throw. And the only quarterbacks worse than Caleb Williams in this category were Anthony Richardson and Cooper Rush last season. That's not exactly great company. And his pressure to sack rate was also a disaster. He was second worst in the NFL. That when that kind of disrupting event of pressure comes, he has not shown an ability to overcome that. Now, with all of that said, and I think that's like a serious case, that we don't just like kind of blindly assign an upgrade from Ben Johnson because it is still an interaction of quarterback and scheme. With that said, it's also possible that like Caleb Williams completely changes his style of play, and like he is still only has 1 year of experience, and like players tend to get better going from especially quarterbacks going from your rookie season to your sophomore year. So it's absolutely possible that he kind of takes a big leap, and you don't want to cling too strong to that prior of him being the number 1 overall pick, but he still was the number 1 overall pick, and like there was a reason for that. So I really see this going in both directions. It's honestly a team that I'm going to lay off, though I guess like maybe I'm slightly lower on them just because I think that the assumed upgrade from Johnson to Williams does not map perfectly, given everything I just outlined. Also, this is a defense, for what it's worth, that like completely collapsed in the second half of the season, though that also could be some like cultural effect, however you want to, and I think that's very real. So it's a very tough team, I think, to sort of handicap, but I really see both sides.
Yeah, no, that's very fair. I mean, I'm obviously leaning towards the higher side, and we'll talk about that maybe a little bit later when I force you to pick the exact placement for each team, towards the end of the video. You can stick around for that. I want to touch on players' futures because I feel like this is a good time. We're deep in the offseason. It's a good time to start thinking about what you're going to do come week 1, week 2, week 3, how you can sort of find maybe discrepancies in market that we might be able to take advantage of. The biggest thing for me with this team is I wonder if Ben Johnson's going to use Caleb Williams more as in designed runs, because like Caleb Williams can run the football. He's kind of, I don't want to say he's like Josh Allen when he runs, because Josh Allen's like 6'4", 250. He's a unit, but Caleb Williams is also pretty big, 6'1", around 230 pounds. He's kind of a bowling ball style runner. So I'm wondering maybe if we see a couple more design runs for Caleb Williams. We've seen him willing to kind of eject and go. And then my other question is DJ Moore versus Rome Odunze. We've had discussions about that on this channel as well. Is Rome Odunze, do you view him as him potentially being the number 1 in this offense over DJ Moore? Because right now the market has DJ Moore as the guy. But for me, I'm leaning towards Rome Odunze. Any thoughts on those two things?
Yeah, I mean, like, there's almost no way to know what
Hmm.
Ben Johnson's going to have planned with Caleb Williams because, like, Jared Goff just can't run. So we have no we have no way to know kind of what the intention was there. That's something that like I want to be updating very very aggressively
Hmm.
to begin with. On your Roma Dunze DJ Moore point, I don't think so. I mean, I'm curious your logic for why DJ Moore is not the number one receiver, but like by most counts, this is not a guy who's kind of fallen off in his production. He does have some weird moments, even just as a fan of like giving up on plays. But again, I think that speaks to the culture and less so the actual talent. Like he has not slowed down. He's not slowed. Excuse me, slowed down. Definitely not English. He has not slowed by any count, and like he was miles ahead of him last year. I anticipate that will continue. Also, like wide receivers generally have a pretty easy. Like they produce well in year one. Like the best receivers very often don't take so long to come like an offensive tackle would. And Odunze really was not that good last season. Just kind of below average in most metrics. Things even that are quarterback agnostic.
All right, I'm gonna get you the Romo Dunze jersey when he like absolutely crushes this year. Let's move on to the next two teams. But before we do that, I want to give a quick shout out to our sponsors over at FanDuel. It might be the offseason, but if you want to bet on NFL futures, FanDuel is the place to go for that action. They have tons of options available, including player award props like MVP, season leaders, passing, rushing, and receiving props. They also have team futures, Super Bowl, conference, division winner, stage of elimination, win totals, including alts that you can parlay. All of those things together, the excitement for something new is live right now on FanDuel. Just visit fanduel.com/forward progress to download America's #1 sportsbook. That's fanduel.com/forward progress. All right, up next, we're going to talk the Green Bay Packers, listed plus 250 right now to win the division. I mean, there's a lot to like about the Packers. They have, like a bunch of other teams in this division, a very good roster and a really good head coach. Their quarterback in Jordan Love, an above average quarterback. Add in maybe their biggest hole on offense, which they addressed through the draft, and adding rookie wide receiver Matthew Golden. This offense seems like it's set to explode. Then you look at the offensive side on the ball. They did lose Jair Alexander, big loss. They kind of have a weakness at cornerback depth, but they have enough pieces on the defense, I think, to maintain that. And also Jair Alexander, he really struggled to stay on the field last year, so I don't think it's going to be that big of an issue for them. Their last division win was in 2021. You and I both think the Detroit Lions have a great chance to take a step back this year. Is this the year they get back to the top of the NFC North?
I don't think so. I mean, like, I think you're right to point out, like, Matt LaFleur, he did the head coach ranking videos. Like, I had him in the top five. I think he's a terrific coach, and like that really elevates the floor of this team. I mean, like, it's a tiny, tiny sample, but even consider like what happened with Malik Willis last year. Like, they just changed the
Mm-hmm.
offense on a dime. And I think I just like that I use the phrase on a dime, which is definitely not English, but a good football one. And the the reason I bring that up also is that you look at the 2023 Packers, who finished the season kind of as Jordan Love was established as a starter with like a very aggressive downfield offense. He was throwing the ball among the deepest in the NFL at like 10, 11 yards downfield. They were passing way above expectation. This was a team that was like entering into that category of like the Chiefs and Bengals, who were just like pass centric. They start that way in 2024. Jordan Love gets hurt, and then they become a completely different offense. In fact, they were the run heaviest offense in the NFL, adjusted for expectation. And I wonder how much of that has to do with Jordan Love's injury. I wonder how much of that has to do with the fact that, like, hey, maybe we got some more info on Jordan Love, and he's not that good of a quarterback. So I see this as a huge question mark, which is like, did LaFleur almost lose confidence in Love, or was like this injury that he was dealing with? It was like a groin injury. In addition, he was playing through a lot of different injuries. Meaning, are we going to see a lot closer of that 2023 version of the team or the 2024 version of the team? And I think LaFleur can win in many different ways, and that's going to give them a very high floor. But in order for them to win this division, I think they need to kind of see that like end of 2023 Jordan Love, and I'm not so sold on that. I think the injuries do play a part, but I don't think that kind of explains the totality of it. And you also mentioned, like, this is a defense that on paper does not look very good. And they relied a lot on turnovers last year. That's kind of a lot of where their EPA was generated from. So high floor, absolutely. Do I think they're going to be good? Absolutely. That just comes with having LaFleur as head coach and still pretty solid weapons on at wide receiver and a decent offensive line. But I'm not so sold. This is a team that's kind of got that ceiling, especially in this really, really tough division.
Yeah, and it's funny you talked about how run heavy they were. That's what I was going to ask in terms of the player future stuff. Josh Jacobs, I mean, ran the ball a ton last year, but I guess it's a big question mark. It'll remain to be seen. I wonder if the Matthew Golden draft pick is like a signal that they. I don't want to say it's like a last shot for Jordan Love, but it's like, okay, let's give Jordan Love every single piece. Maybe if we stop leaving him, let's give him the full opportunity. Let's get him a first round wide receiver, a true good wide receiver talent. Not saying that they don't have good talent, but like a high pedigree wide receiver, and then see what he can do from there. Last team to round out the NFC North is the Minnesota Vikings, plus 270 to win the division. I remember we did a way too early NFC North division preview, and I think they were in like the plus, correct me if I'm wrong, 500.
Like 6-1 or something.
Yeah, something crazy like that. So can't really say CLV in futures markets because Chris will be all over me on that. But like if you got in early, you got a really good number at that. Seems like the market really likes the Minnesota Vikings this year. But again, same thing with the Green Bay Packers. Great roster, much close to, if not better roster than the Green Bay Packers. Incredible offensive mind head coach in Kevin O'Connell. Maybe the best DC in football in Brian Flores. Like a ton of really, really good pieces. But a lot of it hinges on J.J. McCarthy, how good he's going to be. Even still, though, like I think this team has a chance to be good if J.J. McCarthy flares out and they have to resort to Sam Howell. I don't think they're going to be in that. I don't think their floor is that detrimental to this team. So, I mean, obviously we don't want to see Sam Howell next year. Obviously we want to see how good J.J. McCarthy is. This team obviously believes in J.J. McCarthy based on how they operated this offseason. What are your thoughts on the Minnesota Viking now? I know that you like them a lot at 6-1, but now that they're plus 270, what are your thoughts on the Minnesota Vikings? You're kind of staying away now?
No, I still like them.
I
mean, like,
conviction.
I don't know if this is necessarily a bet that I'm like jumping to make as it was earlier in the offseason. At least from a value perspective, obviously with futures, there are other considerations here. But to me, if you look at the trajectory of the Vikings with Kevin O'Connell, it's like what has changed that made this a 14 win. I think they won 14 games last year or whatever, 13-14 win team, which obviously they were like on the right side of variance and in one score games and like whatever. The true value though was a much better team. And I think that has to do with the defense. And like, yes, I am absolutely a Brian Flores truther. I think he's one of the best, if not the best, defensive coordinators in football, and like they've got still plenty of talent on the defensive side of the ball. On the offensive side, like no matter who's playing quarterback, they've gotten production from basically everyone. Like Nick Mullins was putting up some big numbers. So, like Kevin O'Connell got the best out of Kirk Cousins. I don't think Sam Darnold magically turned good with his like fourth team in like 5 years. I think it was like a function of Kevin O'Connell. And this is like McCarthy to me. There's such a high floor in that offense just by virtue of like getting basically such easy buttons. Like this has got a terrific offensive line, got a terrific scheme. They've got unbelievable wide receivers. Like Justin Jefferson is all world. Jordan Addison as a 2, still got TJ Hawkinson. Like this team is loaded on the offensive side of the ball, and like that just raises your floor. If McCarthy can create out of structure, which like his skill set should be able to do. Obviously, we have zero sample of that in the NFL, and like this offense, I think can be even better than they were last year. Because I'm definitely taking the opinion that like this had very little to do with Sam Darnold last year, their offensive success, and so much more with JJ McCarthy. And I would add that like it's not for nothing that yes, he is a in-game level experience, a rookie, but like he's been learning the system for close to 2 years. I think there's something to be said about like studying under a quarterback. What I think that's like reflective of is that like he's still getting plenty of reps and still knows this offense extremely well. But yes, ultimately what this really comes down to is like, at least in my disagreement with the market, is like how much of last year. First off, how repeatable is the defensive success? Like, I don't know if they're going to be, number 3 in defensive EPA, but I still think they're going to be a really great unit. And number two, like how much of the Vikings was like the system and how much of that was Sam Darnold. And I think like so much of it has to do with the Vikings excuse me, with the Vikings in the system. And there's even room to grow, especially if McCarthy can kind of create out a structure where Darnold cannot.
Yeah, and that 2024 quarterback class was loaded. JJ McCarthy was the fourth quarterback off the board there for them, ahead of like guys like Penix and Bo Nix. Bo Nix had a great season last year. I mean, if their talent evaluation of the quarterback is true, and they think that McCarthy is better than Bo Nix, this offense should be set to explode in 2025. In terms of players' futures, there's one guy I want to talk about. They added the Minnesota Vikings added Jordan Mason in free agency. Are you maybe looking at Aaron Jones kind of on the wrong end of their aging curve? We know how running backs tend to age. Every year it feels like I'm fading Aaron Jones. Are you maybe going to look towards some Jordan Mason stuff early, or is that something that you're going to be kind of quick on instead of like right out week one going after?
Yeah, I think it's kind of something I'll just be looking at the splits, even in the preseason. Like if we get some reps of like, okay, this is kind of a 65-35 split, 70-30, 75-25. Like, I don't know what that's going to be. And they do also, especially as like the end of last season, they rotate their running backs a bunch. That's something I'm going to wait and see. There's no point, I think, in kind of guessing on player usage rather than just like updating very quickly to the usage we do get.
All right, sounds good. In terms of range of outcomes of these four teams, who do you think has the largest range of outcomes? It feels like they all kind of do, other than maybe the Green Bay Packers, like you mentioned. But who do you have to have like the kind of the big highest ceiling, but also the lowest floor, if you had to pick one team?
I think it's the Lions. Like, I think it would not surprise me if they do what they did last year and like, win 14 games. This defense is a lot better, I think, than they've been in previous seasons. And it also would not surprise me if just like Jared Goff stops producing as a top 3 quarterback, because like so much of it was a Ben Johnson effect. And really he kind of reverts back to like the person he was, 3-4 years ago. And it's like produces at the 22nd best clip. And that's a huge gap from the production they got last season. So it is a really tough one though, because I think you're right that basically everyone but the Packers has a pretty wide range of outcomes.
All right. Last question here before we head out. Gun to your head. Give me the exact finishing order for the NFC North. Gut check. Who you got? Give it to me now.
All right. We're going to go Vikings, Lions, Packers, Bears.
Vikings, Lions, Packers, and Bears. If I can find it. There we go. 12-1 on FanDuel right now. If you want to go bet that, that's Judah's gun to head. Exact division finishing order for the NFC North. But that wraps it up for us here today. I want to hear your thoughts on the NFC North. Who do you like? Who do you not like? Were we too high on a certain team? Too low? Is Judah giving too much disrespect to Caleb Williams? Let me know in the comment section down below. And if you're new to the channel, do us a favor, hit that subscribe button as well. We got tons of offseason content coming your way. Apparently it's causing a stir on Twitter too, especially with that quarterback rankings. Who knows? Maybe we'll see some, head coach list. Yeah, my bad. It's June. Head coaching list causing a stir on Twitter. We're probably going to cause more of a stir with more of our lists throughout the offseason. So if you want to see those videos before they hit the Twitter streets, make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you hit that notification bell to be the first to view those videos. And if you made it this far, you enjoy this content. That means you really like it. So smash that like button. It goes a long way for us here in the algorithm. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll see you in the next one.